New Year's resolutions are crap. And while we're not going to be focusing on that side of the episode, I am going to tell you what you should be focusing on. I'm going to go over the great blood sugar reset. And of course, that secret announcement that you've been waiting weeks for. Let's get into our theme song. I've spent the last 10 years pushing the limits while identifying trends and patterns in my type 1 diabetes management. Follow along as I learn, apply, and share the fitness, nutrition, and lifestyle strategies that I've learned from diabetes experts around the world. The real question is, how can we live fearlessly with diabetes while maintaining stable blood sugars? This podcast is here to give you the answer. My name is Matt Vandervecht, head coach and co-founder of FTF Warrior, and welcome to Pardon My Pancreas. Every year, we all come into this end of the year, end of December moment where we're like, oh my goodness, what am I going to focus on in the next year coming up? What kind of new goals should I set for myself? How am I going to better myself? And while honestly, I love that thought process behind it, right? I want to better myself. A lot of people think weight loss or better blood sugars or my mindset or I'm going to read X amount of books or I'm finally going to go learn Spanish. Whatever it is, I love that thought behind it. Bettering ourselves. However, the majority of people that set New Year's resolutions usually give up by the end of the first month. Why? Well, it's this fun thought that we're going to improve upon ourselves, but really it's not a commitment. And like I said, we're not going to get deep into that and the psychology of why New Year's resolutions tend to fail, but what I do want to go over today is what you should be focusing on. Now, obviously, if you're listening to this podcast, if you're watching this video, you're probably a type 1 diabetic, like myself, right? I got the insulin pump, the CGM, I take insulin and I would die without it. You guys get the picture. Now, what I want you to focus on here is something that we deal with every day. However, a lot of us have gotten into these habits that we just assume are how life is supposed to go, right? It's like when I was eating whatever I wanted back in the day, when I didn't realize that certain foods made me uncomfortable, gave me stomach aches, made me feel sick, until I finally take a moment and think about, maybe I shouldn't be having stomach aches every single day, right? Just like so many of us with our blood sugars, just assume the roller coasters are normal. You hear so many people talking about on social media, oh my goodness, I was high and then I was low and then I woke up 3 times during the night to go raid the fridge because I couldn't get above 60. You hear these things, and unfortunately, these things are too common because people have allowed this to become the norm for their lives. They don't realize what they could be reaching for. They don't realize that blood sugars could be well controlled. Now, obviously, you're listening to me talk here. You probably heard me say some stuff before that leads you to believe that controlled blood sugars that are stable and predictable are indeed possible, right? Maybe you haven't taken the time to put those practices into your life to actually implement on what I've taught you. But either way, you probably know what's possible, right? And so coming here today, trying to figure out what the great blood sugar reset could be all about, we're looking at New Year's, a great starting point for many people, but I don't want this to be a couple weeks in and then we give up. This needs to be a new habit that you form for life, okay? This isn't I'm gonna pre-bolus for the month of January. This is I'm going to prioritize my own health. I'm going to prioritize my blood sugars and the control over them. I'm going to refuse to let my blood sugars control me. So first step, really building out that commitment, assuming a new identity that I am a person who takes care of my blood sugars, right? Now, obviously, if we look at blood sugars, look at what I've taught you over the last couple of years, we know consistency will always lead to consistency, right? You've heard me say that a ton of times before, and it's factual. If you eat the same thing every single day, exercise the same type of workout, the same time of day, go to sleep at the same time at night, drink the same amount of water, have no stress in your life, don't go out to eat with family and friends, don't have any fun in your life, your blood sugars will remain more consistent. It's true. The more consistent you can keep these variables in your life, the more well-behaved your blood sugars will be. But you tell me, is that the kind of life that you want to live? Are you ready to give up your freedoms, give up the enjoyment of life in order to see a flat line of blood sugars on your CGM? If that's worth it to you, if that is your ultimate goal in life, you have no other aspirations, no other dreams, all you care about is a flat line on your CGM, well then I just gave you the answer. That should be the happiest moment of your life because you just found the true key to your freedom, to your happiness, because that's it. That's all you got to do. Keep every single variable consistent, and your blood sugars will remain, for the most part, completely predictable and stable. But if you're anything like me, I think you want more out of life than that. I think you want more than just the same routine every single day after day, year after year until you die, right? You want to get outside, have adventures, maybe make a family. Maybe you already have a family and you want to enjoy creating memories with them. Whatever it is, you want more out of life than just controlling your blood sugars, right? So we don't want to live that same consistent lifestyle every single day, saying no to family, no to friends, no to fun. So what do we do? If consistency leads to consistency, how do we step out of that routine and still maintain stable blood sugars? This is what we're talking about, the Great Blood Sugar Reset. Now, first step, if you can consistently reduce variables, that's going to help. Let's say you can eat at the same time every day because you have a very routine work, right? You work 9 to 5, so you know you can eat breakfast and lunch the same time every day, maybe even dinners the same time. Boom, variable removed. Easy. Does it mean you have to do that? No. But the more variables you can reduce, the easier it gets. But the big concept I want to drive home today with you is documentation. Not all the time. I know a lot of you just went, oh, I felt the eye roll through the camera, through the speakers, right? It's not that you have to document every single moment, every single day for the rest of your life. That's not it. But the blood sugar reset, the moment where you're like, dude, everything is going out of whack. What can I do right now to control this thing? Well, truth is, you probably have gotten into this routine of not taking control of your blood sugars as much as you'd like to, right? You've let things slide. You stopped carb counting every single meal. You started eyeballing it, guessing how many carbs are in there. I know you know what I'm talking about because I've done the same thing. Maybe it was going to bed later. Maybe it wasn't drinking enough water. Maybe you haven't tested your basals or your bolus ratios in years. And it's time to take a look at that again and see what that could look like for you. And honestly, having this small blood sugar reset could be the key that you're missing to see your blood sugars transformed for this new year, right? So that first step, documentation, it doesn't need to look like documenting every day of your life. What we're looking at here, couple days. See if we can notice trends and patterns right off the top, right? That's why that book right there was written. That's why I put that together. Trending Health Journal helps you to identify all these different trends and patterns in your diabetes management. That's for a different time though. You don't have to worry about that unless you want to. Go find it, whatever. What you want to look for though is these trends and patterns over the course of a couple days. If no trends and no patterns arise, keep testing a little bit longer. Push out the parameters, 4 days, 5 days. Document, keep things consistent. Actually carb count. If you don't know how to carb count, get a scale, weigh your food, and then Google that. So, okay, there's 100 grams of sweet potatoes. How do I know how many carbs are in 100 grams of sweet potatoes? Well, I'll tell you right now, it's 20. There are 20 grams of carbs in 100 grams of sweet potatoes, okay? If you're looking at cup measurements, there's about 27 grams of carbs in a cup of sweet potatoes. See, I've got these things memorized off the top of my head because I've looked it up in the past and it's stuck with me. But if you don't know these things, the internet is a powerful tool. It's like magic, honestly. Weigh your food, measure your food, get an accurate carb count. Look at the back label, the food label on foods, okay? It's gonna say, for this type of serving, 2/3 of a cup, 2 cups, whatever it is, there are this many carbs, right? Use that information. Find your true bolus ratios. Last time you looked at that, like I said, might have been months, might have been years. You started eyeballing it, you got lazy. I'm calling you out right now. If you stopped carb counting, you're lazy. Okay, you're letting diabetes slip away from you. Those blood sugars that are going high and low all the time and you're just, whew, I'm too busy to deal with that right now, so I'll figure out my ratios another time. It's your fault. And it's time to hit the reset button, okay? So, document your blood sugars, what's going on in your life. Try to keep things relatively consistent for the testing phase, right? In my program, Diabetes in Action, we go through these testing phases all the time. We help to identify how much insulin you should be taking, what goes on with exercises and how do those impact blood sugars. What about food, different types of food, different strategies in between those, right? We focus on these testing phases to determine what your true blood sugar reaction is to these different things in life. And as a result, Your blood sugars become more predictable because you know what's pushing on behind the scenes. You know what those factors look like. So how can you apply this to your own life right now? Start carb counting if you haven't already. If you are, start writing down what's going on behind the scenes. Just a couple of days, okay? This isn't a new thing you have to do for the rest of your life, but gather that data. Look for trends and patterns. See if there's room for you to make small adjustments in your diabetes care. And if you're not already doing the bare minimum, carb counting, pre-bolusing, yeah, pre-bolusing is bare minimum, okay? If you're not pre-bolusing, it's probably why you're hitting 200, 300, maybe 400. You need to do these things. This is part of your life with type 1 diabetes. People come and say, oh, but I don't want to. It's so difficult. That's too bad. These are the hand that you were dealt. You have to deal with this thing. You have to take it head on and refuse to give up in the face of diabetes. All right? Now, of course, a lot of us are going to ask, well, isn't it easy? Is there easy? Blah, blah, blah. There you go. Is there an easier way? A little bit of a tongue twister there. Is there an easier way? Is there a shortcut? Why can't I just have the answer? Well, so glad you asked, because I finally get to release this amazing information that's been built up inside of me for the last 6 months. You see, for the last 6 months, my team and I have been working on something really special for you alongside 30 plus experts living with type 1 diabetes. I said, whoa, 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 Matt, what's going on here? Let me tell you about this. I've been hinting at this for weeks now, but I finally get to tell you all about what's going on. We've been working on this for a long time. Over the last 6 months, I've had the opportunity to help build together a virtual summit filled with 30 plus experts, medical professionals, dietitians, strength trainers, motivational speakers, influencers, leaders, all of them living with type 1 diabetes themselves. How many doctors, endocrinologists, and physician assistants do you know personally that have type 1 diabetes as well, which means they know the medical side of things, but they also get you and what you're going through? My guess is you probably don't know any. You might know of one on the internet somewhere, or maybe you're one of the lucky few who's able to see a medical professional that has type 1. But what about strength trainers and fitness experts? What about dietitians who are also living with type 1 diabetes? Nutritionists, motivational speakers, leaders and influencers in the type 1 diabetic community. These experts, I had the opportunity to interview, and I asked all of them the same one question. I said, you've got the opportunity to travel back in time to when you were first diagnosed. You've got the opportunity to coach yourself, coach yourself on living fearlessly with type 1 diabetes. What do you focus on first in order to gain freedom and control? See, I asked them this question for one reason. I realized that they've got the education, they've also got the experience. Now, there are certain things that they're telling their patients, telling their clients, but what they don't know and they don't often think about is what they would coach themselves on. It forces them to get introspective, to think about, how would I complete the greatest blood sugar reset of all time? If I could go back to when I was first diagnosed and give myself the answers to diabetes management and blood sugar control, how would I do that in 14 days? See, I gave them a 2-week window. You have 14 days to coach yourself on living fearlessly with type 1 diabetes. What do you focus on to gain freedom and control? So in the process of interviewing 30 plus experts living with type 1 diabetes, I was able to gather that information, and I will be delivering that to you via a free virtual summit for type 1 diabetics, caregivers, those surrounding the space. Everyone has access to this completely free. And again, I am so stoked to announce this to you because as of 5 minutes ago, when this episode went live, 5 minutes before this episode went live, the website went up and you can now register 100% for free to get access to these 30 plus experts living with type 1 diabetes and giving you their keys to blood sugar success. So all you have to do right now is go to fearlessdiabetic.com, enter your email, and you'll get access to this virtual summit for free. Okay, so fearlessdiabetic.com. fearlessdiabetic.com. Check the description if you don't want to type it in. Check the description, tap on that, or just type in fearlessdiabetic.com. It's completely free, and I don't want to ruin the surprise, but there are 2 surprises waiting for you after you register. The following page, it's a secret page. So after you register, you get to see a little secret page that I made for you, along with a video from me to you, congratulating you on signing up for this virtual summit. It's going to be incredible. We're going to have some of the speaker guests on here the next couple of weeks to tell you about how amazing the summit is, seeing how they would coach themselves, what answers they would give at early diagnosis in order to help them reset their blood sugars and set themselves up for success with type 1 diabetes. It doesn't matter if you are brand new and were diagnosed yesterday, or if you've had type 1 diabetes for decades. This summit is going to change your life with the strategies included in this summit. These people, again, all different walks of life, different types of dietary choices, different fitness choices, different professions, different age groups. These 30 experts are across the board. We even have some parents and caregivers of type 1s in there to give you every single different perspective of type 1 diabetes and how to have the greatest blood sugar reset. So head over to fearlessdiabetic.com right now. Grab your spot. And again, keep an eye out for that second bonus page, a little secret I got for you, waiting for you after you register with your email at fearlessdiabetic.com. I'll see you over there, and keep up the fight.